Hello, Mike here. In this video I'm going to show you more about Mission Manager map layers. A map layer is basically the type of map that you're looking at. Map layers can be accessed by the button at the upper left corner of your map screen. Map layers are broken up into two basic types. The first type are your base layers. These are just that. They're the base layer that your map is made up of. These are very common in most online mapping programs, such as Google Streets, Google Satellite, a hybrid of the both, OpenCycle map. These are very common types of base layers. Mission Manager supports the standard ones plus a couple extras. Now the other type of map layers you can have are map overlays. These are just that. These are overlays that can overlay on top of any of the base layers. There are over 100 different types of maps that you can overlay on top of your base maps. For this reason, these are broken up into sections. So each one of these sections can be opened to reveal all of the overlays that are in each section. Let me show how overlays work, and then I'll come back and I'll talk about the different sections and what they mean. So let's say on top of this Google Streets map, we wanted to overlay some topographical map. So what I've done is I open up this section of map overlays, gone down to USGS topo map, and I'm going to click that on. So what we see is we see a topographical map appear on top of the street map that we were viewing before. Now it looks as though the street map, I'm going to zoom up here a little bit, looks as though the street map has gone away. What's happened is the transparency of this topographical map is very dark. So what we can do is we can lighten it up by lightening it here, and you can see that the street map is still underneath, and the more we slide to the right, the more the topo map we will see, or this overlay, and the more to the left, the more the base layer we will see underneath that. Let's pick something right about here in the middle. So map overlays can be added on top of each other, just like they can be added on top of the base map. So let's add on top of what we have so far, which is our Google Streets map, our USGS topographical map. Let's open up the geographic overlays, and let's add some shading relief to that. So now what we're looking at is we're looking at three separate map layers. The Google Streets map, which you can see down in here, the topographical map, which you can see the topo lines and some other topographical features, and now the shading relief. And just like all overlays, we can lighten and darken or adjust the transparency of any of these overlays so that we can see more or less of the one that we're interested in. Now, I do want to mention something about map overlays, and that is they're not always available at all zoom levels. So for instance, if I zoom in on our map, at some point you'll start to see that some of the overlays will gray out. In other words, they won't be available. What that means is the server that those are coming off of doesn't have the layers at those levels, so they just will not display. Often the layers are not really useful at those levels anyway, and they probably would be in the way, so it's nice that Mission Manager just turns those off for you. Let's take a look at some of the other types of overlays that are available. But before we do that, let's move to a little bit more populated area. Let's go to San Diego, California. And let's go ahead and turn off all the overlays that we have on so far. And we'll go back to just Google Streets View. We'll zoom back here a little bit. And let's look at some points of interest overlays. So for example, let's say we were interested in where are the fire stations in this area. We can simply go to that overlay, click there, and the fire stations will appear. Or we want to see where the hospitals were. We can see where those are as well. As you can see, there's a number of points of interest available. Some of it is more rural, some of it is more urban. You'll have to experiment with it for your area because not all the data sources are 100% accurate. Let's go ahead and turn off these points of interest, and I'll show you a little bit about some of the traffic overlays that you can have. So if we open up this section, We can turn on live traffic flow. And just like most of the mapping programs that you're familiar with using, it'll show you where there are any roadblocks in the traffic and the speed of the traffic that's going around. You can also do such things as turn on live cameras. And this is available only for certain states. But what this is these are traffic cameras that you can click on. And what that'll do is it'll show you a live view of the traffic in that particular area. You can also show where incidences are, so where there's an accident or construction. Some cities are better about reporting their construction than others. Hopefully over time, that as the web becomes more popular for this types of things, other cities will get better about reporting those types of information. Now while we're zoomed in here close to a city, let me jump back up and I'll show you some of the social media overlays and how those work. So let's turn off our traffic flow here. Let's go up to the social media section. So these are basically just that. They are feeds from live social media that might be out there. So we're going to zoom up here a little closer in the San Diego area. And let's turn on, let's say, Instagram and Twitter. Now what you're going to see here is these are either tweets from Twitter or Instagram photos that have been posted, in this case in the last 5 days, because that's what I've set. This is live information, so I can click on any of these and I can see exactly what somebody has said or the picture that they've posted. Now the advantage here is what you can do is you can put in these edit fields here keywords such as flood, storm damage, and only the tweets or photos that meet those criteria will actually pop up on the map. So you can get real-time information from people that are in the public about any particular incident or mission that you're running. Very, very useful information sometimes. So let's go ahead and turn off these two social media layers. And let's turn on webcams. Webcams is just that. These are live webcams, typically outdoor webcams that you can click on, and they'll show you a live feed as to what's going on in that particular webcam. These are pretty much worldwide. Some areas have more webcams than others. If you just pan around your maps, you'll see webcams in various places. They can be somewhat useful. So let's zoom back from here to a much broader area of the map. And let's take a look at some of the weather overlays that you can overlay onto your maps. So those you can find down here at the bottom under weather. And let's say we wanted to just look at current radar conditions. Zoom back here, we can find some weather. We've got some here in Colorado. So we'll zoom up on that. So we can overlay clouds on top of that. So we can see a cloud layer. And just like all the other layers that we showed earlier, the transparency can be adjusted so we can add more or less transparency, so we can darken or lighten these clouds. We can also turn on icons, which will show us current weather conditions for different cities. So if we zoom up here and turn off our radar, you start to see the weather icons that start to appear. And then each one of these you can click on to get more details about the weather in that particular city. So let's go ahead and turn off our two weather layers that we have now. And let's zoom back a little further. We can get more of a full US picture. And let me just mention some things about the natural hazards. So a lot of these layers or overlays that are in this section come from the National Weather Service. This will give hurricane alerts, so you can look at current, say, earthquake activity for the last 30 days. If I click that on, it'll show me all the earthquakes. We can look at any current wildfire information. So let's turn on current wildfire information in California. And you can see there's the current wildfires. If these fires have any perimeters to them, those will also appear as well. Perimeters meaning the actual border of the fire. If there's an active hurricane, you can look at hurricane reports, wind predictions, pretty much most of the common types of layers that you would expect. And then just like all the icons on all the screens that we've been looking at, all the points of interest that we've looked at so far, you can click on any of these to get more information. So that goes with just a general point of interest, or it could be one of these fires. Doesn't matter, each one can be clicked on individually. So that's about it for map overlays. As you can see, there's a lot of overlays to look at and play with. So open up the map screen, play around, have a good time, and thanks for watching.